statistical, mathematical fact
never has been down.
has broken every single record. There is no asset that has come close.
It's the only thing in the industry that was not touched, that was not hacked, and it never fails doing what it promised in 2009. It's never
What's
failed.
the best performing asset the world has ever seen? And you'll find out that it's Bitcoin.
Bitcoiners, welcome. Welcome, Bitcoiners, traders, supporters, followers, haters, Bitcoin negators, all of you. Welcome. Everyone is welcome. Good afternoon, good evening for some. Even I think the wee hours in the morning for others. We always draw an international audience here. I'm going to welcome you to another live space with Oliver Velez. Of course, my name is Oliver Velez. And we're going to talk about my favorite topic today, Bitcoin. Once again, that's right. I did have a live space yesterday. Actually, I had a part 1 and part 2 due to some technical difficulties, which was quite rare and strange. At any rate, that last talk of mine will be put on my Bitcoin Unleashed podcast. I strongly encourage that you seek that podcast out on the podcasting platform of your choice to make sure that you take that in. We will piece the two parts together quite nicely so that we get the best benefit out of our talk last night. But today, I wanted to actually talk about something that I think is quite timely, a topic that I think will serve a lot of very high conviction Bitcoiners that are relatively new to the game in particular. What I'm about to share with you on how to buy Bitcoin dips like a pro touches on some of the things that I actually delve into with my Bitcoiners that are, for lack of a better phrase, under my wing. We've been doing what I'm about to teach you since all the way back to March of 2020, during Bitcoin's last bull cycle, where we actually were fortunate enough to grab the absolute low of the absolute pandemic low on the exact date of March 13th, 2020, at a price of 3,800. I'm going to explain to you how that was actually done, but I also want to delve into the specific strategy that we utilize to use an institutional approach to actually accumulating Bitcoin, utilizing the best thing that allows us to statistically accumulate more Bitcoin than most others. I'm going to share that strategy with you, and I'm going to show you how you can take that strategy and conform it to your specific situation, financial situation. But it's going to be very informative. So without any further ado, let's get started. I don't want to keep you too long on this, but I do want to, because I want to make sure that I don't keep the live session too long, but at the same time, I want to make sure every single thing is, in fact, covered. All right. I'm hoping we don't have the technical difficulties from the day before, but let's get going. All right. So the first thing I want to tell you is that what I'm about to explain to you, this strategy I'm about to share with you, it's basic in nature, but it's extraordinarily powerful. It is specifically designed to increase more rapidly than a regular buy schedule, like a regular DCA. It is specifically designed to accumulate more Satoshis, more Bitcoin over a period of time than one could possibly achieve with a regular DCA or regular dollar cost averaging approach. That's number one. Number two, this strategy is only for highly convicted Bitcoiners. It's not for tourists, and it's not for traders. This is not for the individuals who are looking at Bitcoin like another asset to just make more cash. This strategy is designed for Bitcoiners who understand that it is freedom, that it is the rarest asset the world has ever seen, that it's the hardest money, the hardest commodity human beings have ever come in contact with. And it's for the Bitcoiners that have at least reached that place where their they have a relatively low time preference and are looking to reward their future selves, their future selves in these particular dates. Late 2025, your future self in late 2025 will be benefited by this strategy. Your future self in late 2029 and your future self in late 2033. Now, there's specific reasons why those specific years are chosen to actually try to reward your three selves in those particular years. That is a topic beyond the scope of our talk today, but those years are not random. Late 2025, late 2029, and late 3033 are specific years that you're working for yourself in those specific years. All right, so this strategy is for those who have reached a place where they actually want to do that and they're not overly concerned with, taking profits or trying to gain more cash. Those individuals are what I call, or whom I call, tourist and short-term oriented traders. This is not for them. Okay. Now, the highly convicted Bitcoiner buys the color red. That is what gets the highly convicted Bitcoiner the most excited. It is not necessarily the color green. It's not that they don't get excited on the color green, but it's the color red that really gets their adrenaline and gets their excitement level high. So we as convicted Bitcoiners, we buy the red and we basically chill and enjoy the green, but we go to work on the color red. This is a general practice. Okay. Now, the next thing I want to tell you is that my Bitcoiners, they understand things from a market perspective. They understand how markets work. I think that's extraordinarily important to understand, and it helps one's conviction. My Bitcoiners understand that you must allow Bitcoin to rest. You see, the tourists and the traders, they don't really want Bitcoin to rest, but you have to allow an asset to rest. And an asset rests in two, but it accomplishes a resting period in two ways. It can rest by basically going sideways, no momentum to the upside, no momentum to the downside, boring 90+% of the participants to death. Bitcoin is very good at resting going sideways. A lot of sound and fury signifying nothing. Bitcoin is an expert at resting going sideways. Bitcoin is also a semi-expert at resting by going downward. So a downward pullback, or what Bitcoiners call as a dip, a pullback or a dip, is another way an asset rests. So it can rest by moving laterally, or it can rest by moving diagonally to the downside. Right? Both of those movements accomplish the same thing. And the way I teach my Bitcoiners to really look at this is, imagine, taking a quick little jog forward, realizing that there's a puddle of water ahead of you. So instead of attempting to jump over the water first, you step back, you go back a few steps, and then you accelerate forward to leap over the puddle of water and continue your jog forward. That's what a pullback accomplishes. It accomplishes a temporary a temporary step back, which also accomplishes a much needed rest after an extended run. And this pullback allows it to spring forward and continue its march forward. But we have to let Bitcoin rest. Pullbacks are healthy. They help prepare an asset to move higher with a higher degree of velocity. Now, dips accomplish this, and by dips accomplish making the asset more healthy. Dips make an asset more healthy. Going sideways makes an asset more healthy. And it accomplishes this health generation in three ways. Number one, Dips, they clear out excessive leverage in the system. So when leverage starts to build up, largely with your tourist, your degenerate traders, your hedge funds that are trying to get a short-term pop into play or trying to anticipate a news event or what have you, when that leverage gets overextended, what a dip will do is clean out the leverage. Over leveraged assets are not very healthy assets. It cleanses itself by going backwards to knock out the highly leveraged participants. That's the first way it actually makes itself healthier through dips. Dips also clear out the tourist, the traders, basically the weak hands. No asset is in a healthy state if the majority of the current players are short-term oriented, degenerate traders looking for a short-term pop. That does not do an asset well. What does an asset well is when an asset is at its healthiest, the majority of its participants, the majority of the people that hold the asset, they hold the asset dear and they're not subject to short-term movements. This is the healthiest state for an asset. So when traders and tourists and leveraged hedge funds and so forth and so on, when they get overly leveraged, the dip clears them out. It shakes the asset from these tourists, these traders, these degenerate hedge fund leverage traders. It takes the asset out of their hands, and that Bitcoin must be, it's being bought by someone else. So it's being loosened from the weak hands, and it's actually being transferred to a greater number of people with hands that we call diamond hands, that won't ever sell. So let me explain this way. Every single dip decline of a decent amount is a wealth transfer, is an asset transfer. Every transaction is a buy and a sell. So one must always ask on the pullback, who's letting Bitcoin go? But also, one must also ask, who is stepping up to the plate to actually take it off of their hands? And so the dip buyers tend to be statistically more diamond hand holders, more of the group that won't ever sell this asset. All right. While the buyers on the way up tend to be more of the players who are willing and are going to just drop the asset in a short-term period ahead of us. So dip buyers are full. That group is full of not traders, full of highly convicted Bitcoiners. And so every dip accomplishes something very special. It moves more of a limited supply into the hands of the Oliver Velez's in the world. I bought heavily today in the low 60s, $60,200 to be exact. I bought heavily at that place. All right. Just below 300, 60,300. And I will tell you that the Bitcoin that I picked up in that price range will never, ever, ever see the light of day, people. Ever. And I'm not the only one today. I'm not the only buyer in the universe. I'm not the only buyer throughout the entire world that bought today and has removed an already scarce limited supply off the market forever. So what am I really trying to make you aware of for those of you who are not quite aware of this yet? What am I making you aware of? Every dip makes Bitcoin more scarce. It's already the scarcest asset on planet Earth. It's already the hardest asset on planet Earth, meaning it's the hardest thing to make more of on planet Earth. It's already the hardest commodity the world has ever seen. And yet, It's already the scarcest asset on Earth. And in addition to that, it actually gets more scarce every single decline, every single decent red move to the downside. This already scarcest of all assets becomes more scarce because the greater percentage of dip buyers are the Oliver Velez's of the world. And this is what makes the asset healthier. Moves to the upside actually don't make the asset healthier. It's moves to the downside that make an asset healthier. And there's a large percentage of the world out there who have no concept of this. They don't understand how important dips are. They don't understand how important elongated periods of doing nothing help mend the asset, help build the asset's strength and health up, and prepare it for its next run. In other words, dips eliminate the junk and actually bring in more reinforcements. All right, so it's important to understand what they accomplish. So without these dips, right, it would set things up for a more muted move to the upside. Listen to me carefully. If an asset moved straight up and did not have occasional jolts, occasional hits, if it did not have these healthy dips along the way, that would actually result in a muted move to the upside. That actually mutes the move to the upside. It shortens the bull run's life. You want these periodic pullbacks. We need them. It not only mutes, if you did not have these sharp pullbacks occasionally, it would not only mute the move to the upside and cap the length of your bull run, right? It would actually set the asset up for a much sharper, more violent collapse during the bear period because it would be top heavy. You see, the pullbacks prevent your asset from being top heavy. A top heavy asset, right, is an asset that can be akin to a giant theater being filled to the brim with human beings to the point where the walls are almost bulging. Not only is every seat taken, but every inch of every aisle, every speck of every piece of the floor has a human being. The walls of the theater are buckling, and someone instantly yells, "Fire in the theater!" And every single one of those human beings wants to get out at the same time. It is not going to happen. That is disastrous. What these pullbacks do is prevent the theater from ever reaching that point. Because if the theater reaches that point, you've got Chernobyl on your hands. We don't want a Chernobyl scenario. We want bear markets, which are also a different type of cleansing out of the system. But we don't want them to be more dramatic, more violent than they need to be. And if we did not have these systematic pullbacks along the way, you get that Chernobyl scenario. All right, Bitcoin's pullbacks are already, bear markets are already deep enough without them going to Chernobyl on us. You understand? All right, so I needed to lay that groundwork for why a highly convicted Bitcoiner who understands markets, you need those two together, not just highly convicted about the asset. You have to understand how markets operate, all right? So that you can separate negativity from what is basically a healthy occurrence. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, all right, let's talk about The base strategy. This is the base strategy that I teach all of my Bitcoiners. All right. It's very simple, but it's extraordinarily powerful. Now, just before I say that, just before I delve into the strategy, I just want to say this. We saw Bitcoin briefly dip below 60,000. And I am going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to tell you that this is the very last time human beings will ever see Bitcoin in the 50,000s. Now, I dare anyone to record me. I'm going to say it again. You can mark this down. The date, the time holds me to it, holds my feet to the fire on this. I am telling you that at no other time, your time is now. At no other time in the rest of humanity, there will never be any human beings that will ever be able to buy Bitcoin in the 50s. Your time is now. I'm not saying that we're leaving the 50s now. I'm saying that this is the opportunity. This is the last opportunity the entire human race for eternity will ever be able to buy Bitcoin in the 50,000s. Now, you mark my words, you hold me to that. All right, let's get to the strategy. All right, how many people do I have here? All right, cool. The base accumulation strategy, this is in lieu of a dollar cost averaging approach. The base strategy goes like this. You take the local high of Bitcoin, the local high, and I'll explain what that is in a second. And you actually look to buy the exact number in thousands down from the local high based on the price that you're at. So let me give you an example. We reached a high price of Bitcoin in March of, let's call it 74,000. It was just shy of 74, but let's round it to 74,000. We're in the 70,000s. So we're going to use $7,000 because we're in the 70,000s. Okay? So you're going to use 10%, right? So you're going to use a $7,000 number, and you're going to project from the local high of 74. All right, you're going to project $7,000 down. That is your buy on the way down price. Your first one, 74. All right, to 60, 67. That's $7,000 down. Now that buy, $7,000 down, places you in the 60,000 range. So now you've got to buy at 67,000. Now you're going to use $6,000 down to make your next buy on the way down. All right. So that means that at 61,000 now is your next buy. Now you're still in the 60,000s, right? So now you still have to use 6,000 as your number. So 6,000 from 61 down, all right, places you at 50, at 50, what did I say? 61? Yeah, places you at 55,000 as your next buy. Now the 55,000 at your next buy, all right, you're now in the 50,000. So now you're going to use $5,000 as your next buy down. All right. And that places you with a buy at 50,000, but you're still at 50,000 in the 50,000 price range. So you're still going to use 5,000 down from that, which places you at 45,000. Now you're in the 40,000s. Your next buy is going to be $4,000 down. And of course, you're going to buy at 41,000 and so forth and so on. That's the base foundational smash buy strategy. All right. You use basically 10% of the price you're at, starting from the local high. Okay. Now, you can actually start this anywhere. So let's say you just came into Bitcoin right now and Bitcoin's at 60,500. This is your first buy. You can actually start the process right there. So if your first buy into Bitcoin is 60,500, you're going to use the number 6,000. Your next smash buy is $6,000 down. All right. Which basically is going to be 54,500. And at 54,500, you're now in the $50,000 range. So now you're using the $5,000 smash buy number on the downside. Now, what this base strategy does is it's designed to get you to appreciate, understand, and relish the moves down to your buy points. What it also does, so it makes you understand that red is good, because that's when you're going to smash buy. You're not going to smash buy on green, right? You're going to smash buy on the red moves to the downside. What it also does is it helps you systematically accumulate this asset in a methodical, professional way, keeping your average cost relatively close to the current price. And so when Bitcoin turns from its dips, it doesn't have to work so much, travel so far to put you over the top with all of your red bar smash buys to the downside. Now, we did a version of this all the way down the bear market, from 69,000 all the way down to 15,500, keeping our average cost throughout the entire move to the downside relatively close to the current price, meaning that when Bitcoin came off the low of its bear market decline, it didn't have to travel that far to put the entire period of accumulation over the top into profitable territory from a USD denominated perspective. So it systematizes your approach to this. It makes it more methodical. It makes it more plan-based. It's not random. And therefore, it makes you less susceptible to emotions that come from FUD and the stories and the narratives that a lot of people try to attach to Bitcoin's decline. It doesn't really matter. You have your buy points before Bitcoin even gets there. And that places you in a psychologically, emotionally superior state. You become almost immovable because of the plan. All right. And so that's the base model. If you bought at 66, your next buy is going to be 60. And from there, your next buy is going to be 54, and so forth and so on. And the next buy is going to be 49 because you're in the 50s. So you've got it. That's the base smash buy formula. Now, why do I say it's the base one? Because there are some players that want to be more aggressive with it. So instead of using the same amount of dollars to buy at every point, like I'm going to buy $100 at every price to the downside. So every time one of my prices gets hit, I'm throwing an extra $100 into Bitcoin. All right. Instead of keeping the dollar amount the same, what they do is they go up. So they have They have so some have gone to the place where they have 4 levels of buys. So the first level down from the local high is the lightest. These 4 levels of buys get heavier and heavier. So let's call each buy level lots, right? So the first level down, they're going to do a one lot buy. All right, a one lot buy. When they get to the second level, right, they're going to do a 2 lot buy. Now, what do I mean by levels? I mean, when you leave a specific price range. So the 70,000s is one price range, right? Any buys in the 70,000, that's a one lot. When you get into the 60,000s, you're now picking up the size of your buys to a two lot buys. And when you get into the 50,000s, those are 3 lot buys. And when you get into the 40,000s, that's a 4 lot buy. Now, during a bull run to the upside, statistically, you never really ever have to go, you've never had to go past 4 levels. Statistically, like 90+% of the time, you never had to go past 4 levels. So that's why we have 4 levels to it. If you want to take this pyramiding approach, where the top of the pyramid represents the first buy, that's the smallest. That's the apex of the pyramid. As you move deeper and deeper down the pyramid, so does the size or the number of your lots. So it could go like this. My first level of buys are $100. My second levels of buys are $300. My third levels of buys are $600, or it could be even something smaller. My first level of buys is $100. My second's $200 in buys. My third is $300 in buys, and so forth and so on. So that's adding a little bit of juice. And what that approach will do when you take it from the base buy, where your dollar amount is standard at every price, you take it to a place where you're now forcing your average even lower, keeping it closer than the base method to the current price. And when Bitcoin turns, it quickly and rapidly takes all of those buys to the downside and throws you into profitable territory relatively quickly from a USD denominated price point, right? And the reason why I keep saying that is because for me, I don't really measure this in US dollars. I measure this just in Satoshis or Bitcoin. To me, I've become more profitable every single time I raise the number of Satoshis that I lock away, right? Because I'm thinking in terms of the 3 future selves, right? Late 2025, late 2029, late 2033. So by me upping the amount of Bitcoin that I have today, I know that I've made my 2025 self wealthier today. That is not measuring based on USD denominated terms today. It's projecting the late 2025, late 2029, late 2033. All right. And so to me, any hike in the amount of Bitcoin I have already made my future selves profitable. I didn't need Bitcoin to turn right now. I'm not thinking in that shorter term time frame, but it does do this. This slightly souped up pyramiding in with ever increasing amounts of US dollars going in at your buy points forces your average price to be lower, which makes your move back into profitable territory profitable from even a short term or shorter term USD denominated point of view. All right. Now, what some of my Bitcoiners choose to do is that they feel as though that these buy points are too wide and they are more appropriate for someone who has limited funds. So someone who has limited fiat to play with, they have a stream of money that comes in that's relatively small. an amount per week or amount per every 2 weeks that's relatively small that they can deploy into Bitcoin, then for that person, the wider buy points are appropriate, because you don't want to blow your entire load all in level one, right? So for those who have, I would say, greater fiat resources, or the flow of fiat that comes to them that they can deploy into Bitcoin is more sizable, then they tend to cut these ranges in half. So instead of in the 60,000s doing a buy every 6,000, they will do a buy every 3,000. Okay? And that is more along the lines of what I'm doing now. I'm not doing the 6,000 in the 60s. I'm doing every 3,000 in the 60s. All right. But back in the 20s, I was doing every 1,000. You understand? And back in the 30,000s, I was doing every 1,500 price move. So I tend to work or operate at the 50% range level most of the time. Now, I want to make this clear. This is not to replace a regular dollar cost averaging approach to Bitcoin. This is in lieu of a dollar cost averaging approach to Bitcoin. So whether you dollar cost average every Monday, all right, every Monday I put $100 into Bitcoin, or whatever the number is, that is not to stop. This is a smash buy component being added to your dollar cost averaging approach. All right. I just want to make that clear. It's not a choice. You should never drop the dollar cost averaging approach. This is in lieu of it. This is an additive approach. All right. That's going to soup up your accumulation mode. All right. And it makes the dips fun. It has the convicted Bitcoiner sort of pounding the table and rooting for Bitcoin to get to your next buy point. It changes the mindset of the truly convicted Bitcoiner to flip that switch and to appreciate red more than they appreciate green. They appreciate both, but they get really excited on the greens because just maybe I can get one or two of these levels off, in addition to my regular dollar cost averaging approach. And guys, that's how we do it, you know? And we add all kinds of cute little things as well. And some of these things I've shared, and some of the things that I shouldn't share, I'll piss off my Bitcoiners. But I've also shared using the crypto fear and greed index for size, for determining your size. So when the crypto fear and greed index is green, you're one-lotting your buys. When the crypto fear level is yellow, you're two-lotting your buys. Those are two lots. And when it's orange, you're three-lotting your buys. And when it's deep red, you're four-lotting your buys. Remember, we have 4 different levels in terms of sizes. And so you can make it even more fun by using the crypto fear and greed color grade to determine, okay, what size am I doing now? Keeping your same price points, but using the crypto fear and greed color scheme to determine what size, how much. Is it going to be $100? That's green. Is it going to be $200? That's yellow. Is it going to be $300? That's orange. Or is it going to be $400? That's red. Buying the dips can be fun, guys, but it can also be done professionally, methodically, and systematically, and in a way where you don't get emotionally or psychologically moved or shaken. But guys, I have to remind you, I do not pass the mic during my live talk. So your request for the mic is going to go for naught. Okay, I just want to let you know. All right. So I just feel that the best way for me to share my limited knowledge and information regarding Bitcoin and some of the things I do is best done more in a monologue or rant like style. So please ask your questions in text form. All right. A standard guy saying, I love it. All right. I'm hoping this is going to help some of you. And I'm going to be anxious to see if some of you put it to work. It's fun. It's fun. It's fun for the convicted Bitcoiner, knowing that they are really not doing this haphazardly. There is method to the madness. There is something systematic between my buys. And it also conditions the person to be unmoved by most things. That the focus is just having Bitcoin reach the next buy point and nothing else matters. It places the importance on that. There's no over obsession with why is it dipping, as if a narrative is going to make the dip any different, right? There's none of that goes on with the trader with the Bitcoiner who gets in this mode and utilizes this approach. So I appreciate that. All right, Alan Wise says I just bought 500 at 59K. Beautiful. So Alan Wise, who bought at 59K, can either use, all right, the next buy point would be 5,000 down, which is 54K, or if Alan Wise wanted to do the half model, all right, he's going to basically use $2,500 down, all right, and buy at that price would be his next price. So knowing your smash buy points in advance just takes the randomness out of your approach. And like I said, it minimizes, if not completely eradicates, your psychological instability, the emotional ups and downs that go with should I, shouldn't I? Well, you've got all the prices mapped out ahead of you. All right, there's no should I or shouldn't I. It's right there. That's the plan. All right, cool. I freaking love it, man. I freaking love it. All right, Calvin says, good review. Calvin knows this like the back of his hands, but I'm glad you found the review good, Calvin. Awesome. Where do you find the crypto greed index? I can type that here for you very quickly. But, what I will say is Google is your friend, my friend. I just, it's funny, man. I see your comments. It's just weird, man. It's just not. Oh, here it is. It's just on the different approach. So let me put the crypto fear and greed index. Well, first of all right, guys. So I just posted the crypto fear and greed index. If you guys quickly take a look at that, the way we use this, the way some of my Bitcoiners use this is in green. They're in the deep green. They're using their one lot size to accumulate. When we go to the top or the middle portion, they're using a heavier. And when you go to that orange, they're using heavier. And the deep orange or close to red all the way to the left, they're using their largest size. The largest amount of the four different sizes. Believe it or not, this will probably adjust tomorrow. I'd say we go more toward a little past the halfway mark to the left. I don't know if you're looking at that, but there is somewhat of a lag to the index itself. All right. Sonny says, I got tired of DCAing and I bought 100% of my assets into Bitcoin at mid 30,000s. And as I told you, one less thing to worry about. Now, for some people, that approach works. I would say that in my experience, putting everything on the line at once and never adding is not appropriate for close to 90% of the people out there. Now, I do believe in lump summing in the majority, if not all, but I don't believe in not adding along the way. Like, what else are you doing with your dirty fiat that keeps coming in? All right. I saw a post by someone who was starting to gain doubts. This person posted that I bought at 70. Now we're near 60. I'm starting to feel doubts about this. And my thought was, well, why would you treat this like Vegas, like the casino? Like, you don't just get one bet, do you? Here? Do another one. Do another buy. What do you do? What else are you doing with the fiat that you have? What are you going to do? Buy some designer shirt for $150 that you won't look at again in the next 3 months? You know? So, like, people don't understand that you're never supposed to stop buying the rarest asset on earth. And people always ask me, Oliver, so, when are you going to stop buying Bitcoin? Like, never. Like, what do you mean? Like, as long as someone is willing to give me something that is guaranteed to go down forever, the US dollar or any other fiat currency, you're willing to give me that in exchange for something that is designed to go up forever, that is the scarcest thing on earth, the best performing asset the world has ever known, and you're willing to give me that in exchange for something that can only go down forever, as long as you're willing to do that, I'm willing to take it off of your hands forever. Every single time I see Bitcoin hit my wallet, for lack of a better word, right? I take a pause, guys, and I'm like, I look at it and I say to myself, someone actually gave this to me. This is mine. Someone actually handed this over to me. I just showed up with money and they took my money and gave me this. My God. I literally look at it like that. Like, someone gave me the scarcest thing on earth, that in the year 2033, they're going to look like they're going to look like the dumbest asses alive. Right? So I just feel that why should you not make that trade? Why should you not? Why should you stop doing that? Why should you stop taking the rarest asset on earth for the most plentiful one that's guaranteed to go down forever? I don't think you should ever stop that. There's no reason to stop. But I do believe there will be a day you won't be able to do that. I believe there will be a day you won't be able to buy Bitcoin for fiat currency. You might be able to buy exposure to its gains. You might be able to hitch a ride, but to actually own the asset itself for dollars? No, because I today won't give up Bitcoin for dollars. You think I'm the only one? You think you can show up to me with dollars? Think about dollars. And I give you in exchange the rarest asset on earth, the best performing asset the world has ever known? You want me to give that up to you for dollars? Dude, we've had dollars all of our lives. They don't work. I'm not going backwards. I'm not doing that trade in reverse. Do you think Oliver Velez is the only one doing that? The numbers of Oliver Velez's increase every single day of your life. Bitcoin becomes scarcer every day of your life. And remember what I told you. Remember what I keep reminding you. You can do this search yourself. Google is your friend sometimes. Go look up how much does a global population increase every single day? You know what the number is? Something like 220,000 new human beings on Earth every single day. That's net of all the human beings that have passed away. So there's a net plus 220,000 people every single day forever. That's never going to stop. Just by that number alone, Bitcoin becomes more scarce by 220,000 people every single day of your life. In addition to that, people are losing their Bitcoin. There's a higher degree of Bitcoin dust that will never be able to be moved again due to higher fees. And when you add those things, and then you add the Oliver Velez's of the world that are increasing every single day, that they will never give this up for paper again, ever. And you see how an asset that's already the scarcest becomes scarcer every day, if not every hour of its existence. And it's astonishing to me how we have someone to me today. It's amazing to me. Today, someone posted right here. You can go to the post and read it. Posted to me and says, "I can't wait until I can't wait until all of Bitcoin's gains stops being in the future. My God, I can't wait for it to stop being in the future." And I'm like, "What? All of the gains are now. What are you talking about? This is the best performing asset on planet Earth. What do you mean, wait for all the gains in the future? What are you talking about?" And I know for a fact this guy's been here since the absolute low of Bitcoin because I have been responding to him for the last 2 years. And yet the mentality is, where are all the gains? What? Where are all the gains? Yeah, they're in the future. Yes, there are gains in the future, but you've had the best gains of anything that's ever been exposed to the human race. What are you talking about? It's crazy, man. Wow. You know, there used to be back in the 1980s, I believe it was, in the late 1970s, early 1980s, something like that. There used to be this campaign put out by, I can't remember the university at the time in the United States, but it was very catchy, the marketing campaign. It was basically get an education because the mind is a terrible thing to waste. That was the catchy term. The mind is a terrible thing to waste. Catchy, it works. But you know what? I'd like to change that. After 2 years of posting here on X.com, formerly known as Twitter, this is my motto. The mind is a terrible thing. Period. I've watched people's mental acrobatics keep them out of the best thing human beings have ever and ever will be exposed to. I've watched them mentally do backflips, front flips, cartwheels, watch them talk themselves out of it. Watch fear grip them so tightly that they can't do anything but just spew doubt every single day, right here. They comment every day about doubt-filled comments from 15,500 to 74,000 without ever stopping. That is insane to me. And that proves to me that the mind is a terrible thing. All right, what else do we got? What else do we have here? Wild. So what are the Cloud Mining Collective saying? So Oliver, what are your feelings about leverage and risk management until I can own a BYC? I don't know, or own a full Bitcoin, I think you're saying? First of all, I think that 99% of all people should stay away from leverage. That is my view. Leverage is for professionals. Leverage is for people who've been basically taught to be professionals. Leverage is not for your average guy on the street. Bitcoin is the best performing asset in the history of the world. It doesn't need leverage to be successful. Leverage is typically used for something that is not high performing. All right. Treasury bills, very, very low volatility. You use high leverage on that. But to use leverage on an 80, 85 vol asset like Bitcoin is almost certain death for 99% of the people who are not professionals. And you guys are not professionals. Trust me. You can get lucky a few times. You might even get lucky for a while if the bull market or the bear market is thorough enough without many interrupts. But I promise you, as certain as night is the day, the math catches up to the unprofessionals. That you wind up negative Bitcoin, not plus Bitcoin. The goal, guys, is to wind up with more Bitcoin. Traders of Bitcoin always wind up with less Bitcoin every single time, every single cycle. They have less Bitcoin than the last Bitcoin. I haven't met one trader, I haven't met one trader in the last 5 years who has wound up with more Bitcoin this cycle than they had last cycle when they were trading it. I haven't met one. I've met liars, but I haven't met a real one. Traders don't wind up with more Bitcoin because they're not accumulators. Accumulators wind up with more Bitcoin. They're the wealthy ones 2-3 cycles out, not the traders. They are not the wealthy ones. I promise you. And anyone who tells you they are, they're liars. The math does not work. I've done the math every which way but loose. It doesn't work. Over time, the math catches up to every single trader. An 85 vol asset with leverage in particular cannot be traded successfully, consistently over a decent period of time. It is mathematically impossible. And any trader who tells you they're profitable, you can bet your bottom dollar they're liars. It is not a mathematical possibility. All right, so the goal, guys, is always wind up with more Bitcoin next cycle than you had this cycle. The goal should be to wind up with more Bitcoin this week than you had last week. That is what I train my Bitcoiners to do. If you let a single week go by and you don't have more Bitcoin, you are failing at life. You are failing your future. And as C. Walker said so appropriately, 4 years from now, 5 years from now, 4 years from now, you're going to kick yourself. And 8 years from now, your kids are going to kick you. I love that. All right, CK, I think I answered CK's question when I commented on Sani's comment. Why buy dips? Why not lump sum whenever you have free cash? That is a form of DCA. Lump summing is when you lump sum whenever you have money, that is a form of DCA. What this does is this is largely for someone who has a constant stream of fiat coming in. Most of my Bitcoiners are traders, all right? They're making money every day or every few days or certainly every week, right? So the point is they have a constant stream of what should be gotten rid of every single week. So they're never without fiat that can be deployed on a $6,000 drop, all right? So if your flow of fiat is more random and and what works for you is whenever I get fiat, I dump it in. I think that's cool too. There's no systematic approach to it. But this is for people who who are in a position to put a system around their accumulation plan. And this heightens your approach. It takes you to the professional level where you're operating based on a mapped out plan, and you can tell someone where your next buy points are to the penny. And that's being a professional. You can tell someone that my next buy is at this price, and when I buy at that price, I'm buying this amount. And when I buy that amount at that price, my average price of all the buys on the way down are this price. That's being a professional. That's not being a random crypto bro. Yeah, should I buy the dip? I don't know. I think it's going to dip lower. Should I wait? Should I hold off? The news says this, and maybe I should wait for the Hong Kong ETFs and da 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 da. Instead of being all over the place like that, you've got a freaking mathematical mapped out plan that has zero uncertainty to it. And you know every aspect. I know what price, what amount, what my average is going to be after that's done. And you can sit back with a level and an element of calm that most people that you'll find on X.com are devoid of. All right. Let's see. Is there anything else? There's some text there. Lee's asking me a tax question. I actually, Lee, unfortunately, I try to stay away from tax related questions. They're a bit more complex. They're certainly not for an open forum like this. Some of the things that should be talked about should be spoken about in private. So I apologize, but I'm going to bypass tax related issues like that, questions like that. All right. I think that's it, guys. Wait a minute. I see a few here. Wait a minute. I get paid one time. Tommy Shelby Hoddle is saying I get paid one time a month at my main fiat mining job, working on a side gig now. All right, cool. Guys, you know what I found? I found that the size of your buys matters less than the consistency and the regularity of your buys. And so, as long as you can be consistent, and as long as you're not buying like once every 8 months or something like that, as long as it's once a month or less, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. Now, what's really cool about your time period is that if you are a monthly DCAer or a monthly lump sum buyer, whenever I get my pay once a month, I dump whatever I'm going to contribute to Bitcoin, whatever I can contribute to Bitcoin that month, I'm dumping it in. That's more of a lump sum DCAer. And that's cool too. But I would suggest that you view Bitcoin from your time frame if you're looking at the chart. So if you're looking at a Bitcoin chart and you're a monthly DCAer, you should be viewing Bitcoin with monthly bars. The monthly time frame should be your go-to time frame. All right, and keep your DCA largely keep your time frame largely in sync with your DCA time frame, if you can do that. So if you're doing a weekly DCA, the time frame of choice for you is a weekly chart of Bitcoin. If you're doing a daily DCA, the time frame for you is a daily chart. Wait, what are your thoughts on Bitcoin Jesus's arrest? Wait. What are you talking about? Is there something I missed here? Did I miss something here? Oh, I did miss something. Roger Ver was arrested. Guys, I will tell you this. I will tell you this. I'm going to be a conspiracy theorist here, okay? I believe that anything that is antithetical to Bitcoin is being cleared out. I am telling you. I believe it's systematic. I believe it's methodical. I believe it's the grand plan. Anything that is an antithesis to Bitcoin, anything that is a loudmouth, a nemesis to Bitcoin, is being removed from Roger Ver to CZ. Yes, CZ was not a friend to Bitcoin. I'm sorry. CZ, Roger Ver, Craig Fraud Wright, SBF, not a friend to Bitcoin. It's pretty amazing to see. Pretty amazing to see. Wow. As far as I'm concerned, good riddance. Someone's asking the best self-custody method. I don't know if that means what's my favorite cold card, my favorite cold storage wallet. I like the cold card. I like Foundation Passport. I like Blockstream's Jade. I've heard the Seed Signer's cool, but just those top three I'm very familiar with, and I like those the best. But if that's what you're talking about, those are my top three. Those are the top three recommended cold storage wallets I recommend. But if you're asking me method, meaning single sig, multi-sig, guys, I have this view that the faster we can get people who have adopted Bitcoin, who hold Bitcoin, the faster we can get the majority of them to multi-sig, multi-signature custody, the faster we can get Bitcoin to a place where it just simply can't be stolen. Imagine a world where Bitcoin simply can't be stolen. So the only way you're going to gain access to it is you're going to deliver value. You have to go to a Bitcoiner and give a Bitcoiner something very important, something very valuable. You'll have to do something for a Bitcoiner. If you're a Bitcoiner, people are going to have to serve you. They're going to have to give you their best. They're going to have to do something so special for you to convince you to give up the rarest asset on earth, an asset that is mathematically designed to go up in value every 4 years of your life, to give up all of those future gains for you, your family, for your whole generational bloodline. To give that up, it had better be something extraordinarily special. If we can get to a place where it can't be stolen from someone, the only way you can access it is to deliver value. Bitcoin's going to raise the productivity of the entire planet Earth to levels we've never seen before. That people are going to have to find a way to be valuable or die. None of this riding the coattails of something else or having your hand out for freebies. There is going to be a day where no one's going to sell it to you for pieces of government-backed paper. And there will be a day where it simply can't be stolen. The theft of your Bitcoin is off the table. Now, the only way to get it is to do something special. And so everyone on earth is going to have to raise their talent level, raise their level of productivity. They have to become more special than they are today. And I believe that the only way that I can think of that we get there is self-custody, but in particular, multi-jurisdictional, multisig self-custody, where not even you could give it up if someone held a gun to your head. I think that multi-sig self-custody will help move us there, along with time-locked Bitcoin will help move us there. And I did a few talks on that. You can time-lock Bitcoin into the future, which means that not even you can touch it until 2033 or 2025 or 2 weeks from now or what have you. I know OG Bitcoiners who actually travel. And when they travel, they time lock their Bitcoin during the travel. So for instance, they're leaving Spain to travel to Dubai. They will time lock their Bitcoin to release when they're scheduled to come back to Spain, so that no one on planet Earth, not even them, can touch their Bitcoin during their travel period. There's going to be some really fascinating things, guys, that are going to be built on top of Bitcoin that give us the ability to protect it more. Imagine something, for instance, like Noonchuck offers, where you can set a maximum limit that can ever be spent on any given day, or a temporary time lock based on every single withdrawal request. So 48 hours, up to 48 hours, a request to withdraw, nothing's done in 48 hours. And in that 48-hour period, I can reverse it. I can reverse it because it didn't come from me. I mean, there are going to be so many neat things that you're going to be able to do that gets us to a place where this thing, the rarest asset in the world, is going to be the only asset on earth that can't be stolen or confiscated or taken away from you against your will. And that's a very special day. The Cloud Mining Collective, I really appreciate your professional clarification. I appreciate that comment. Thank you very much. All right. All right, guys. Listen, I want to thank, I don't know, there's 93 people in the space. Okay, guys, listen, I want to thank all of you for joining me live here. I also want to thank those who are listening to this talk in recorded fashion. I appreciate all of you. You guys know what to do. I hope you found what we talked about here useful. I hope a little bit. If not, I'll try to get better each and every time I go live with you. I will also remind you that every single one of my live talks does wind up on my Bitcoin Unleashed podcast. You can find that on YouTube, Spotify, Fountain app, Google, Apple, all of the popular podcasting platforms. It's called Bitcoin Unleashed. There's literally days, weeks, months and months of very special content there. Absolutely free. All right, guys, listen, go to work. You know what to do. Stack harder. Ciao for now. Boom. My name is Oliver Velez, and I am your 13%er Bitcoiner. Be safe out there, and until next time. Boom.